Oh yeah, I just got this bad boy, really excited. It could be the game changer. 7mm heel toe drop set drop on the new Hoka race shoe, carbon fiber super shoe. More on that later. We're gonna dive right in though to episode 2 of training for a 220s Boston Marathon. And I realize it's a little misleading in the thumbnail, clickbaity title. I apologize for that. When we say 220s marathon, it could be a 229, realizing that that's actually closer to a 230, but it could also be a 220 flat. And the chasm between a 230 to 220 is actually quite vast. So full disclaimer, want to be authentic and transparent with you guys. I don't mean that I'm necessarily going to run 220 flat. I have run half a dozen sub 220 marathons in the peak of my career before my pulmonary embolism, but the goal at Boston is to at least run in the 220s again. 225 would be real nice, depends on weather. So that's what we're shooting for. That's kind of what we're training for. You're going to see how this training evolves, but the clickbaity title is, 220s marathon training. Well, this is it. First step is coffee. Coffee's the lifeblood. Second step is getting motivated by Black Canyon 100K live coverage. So I've done this a long time ago in my OTQ series when I was trying to qualify for my third US Olympic trials, and I ended up failing actually with a 2:19:12 at Boston, which was one of my most proud races at Boston because there was kind of a headwind that year, and I missed the trials by 12 seconds. 2:19:12 did get me 16th place at Boston, which I'm very proud of as a career highlight, but we're not going to do that well this time. I'm not going to kid myself. I am not going to be able to beat that performance, and it's kind of a bitter pill to swallow, but we're still trying to optimize and do our best. And mainly, like I said, I'm a lot older now. It's 10 years, 11 years later, and I also had a pulmonary embolism that took out part of my lungs, so there's that too. However, when I start a training plan, and we do this for coaching clients at higherrunning.com, we start with a paper plan, tabula rasa, so to speak, a blank slate, and I have this calendar grid. Oh, I gotta trim that actually. Just a minute. Feel like I'm doing an arts and crafts project here. I like to be able to see and tape together the weeks exactly as they line up. So a full calendar grid, this is only 12 weeks. We only have 10 weeks till Boston. Of course, I've been thinking about it a lot longer though. So going down, I've already done the last couple weeks. I could fill that in, look at my STRAVA training log, but I have in that back of my mind what I'm gonna do. And so we tape this together. We have a nice calendar grid with our mileage totals, our weeks, the calendar dates, kind of where the months start and end. So I kind of have this all on my radar. So it's all taped together like a big poster board. I used to make poster boards like this in high school with my training logs. Projected training, I didn't tape that very well. So we could see how the weeks progress, and that's really the art and science with our customized, personalized coaching that we do for coaching clients, is we work backwards from the race dates. So we know I got the Boston Marathon in 10 weeks from 2 days ago, Monday, and I'm gonna count back from there. So I know the last 2 weeks, kind of more of a taper phase. I'm not doing any hard long runs or super hard workouts because I gotta freshen up the legs in the last 2 weeks. It's kind of a taper. Even 3 weeks out, I'm already below my peak weekly mileage. But then I'll start charting out probably the mileage progression. You see, I put in 80 miles on that first week, but that was actually included some ski miles. I total up my skiing, and some of those were even downhill ski miles, but a lot of my ski miles are ski mountaineering or alpine touring. So I'm actually working really hard to go uphill like 1,000 feet a mile, climbing on my skins, skiing, so at high altitude as well. So, I count that as a fitness boost. It's misleading though if the mileage is really 80 miles of running per week, which I do want to be doing at least. Back in my heyday, I used to run 140, 150 miles a week, well over 200 kilometers a week of just running, including a lot of hard workouts. So got to do that, got to develop the speed. I've developed this new tradition on Sundays where I like to go to the track because, well, the kids don't have school, it's accessible, but Sundays are track days. Some people have Sunday church of the Sunday long run. I have work at the Oval Office. I'm going to Sunday to do a speedy session, and I started with something very short and fast faster at least, is 200 meter repeats. And I started at 12 by 200. Then the next week I did 16 by 200. Last Sunday I did 20 by 200. And so we noticed a progression there, an extension. We're increasing the volume or the amount of 200 meter repeats we're running at basically the same pace. I was knocking back 34s. It's kind of slow. It used to be my old 5K pace, 3K pace almost. But you know, we're at altitude, it's windy. I'm an old slow ultra runner now. So 20 by 200, I don't recommend that for most people. Actually, for most people we coach, we start with what you're coming from. So if you're coming off an ultra, or you know, you need to work on your turnover and speed, maybe we do things like the 200 meter, 300 meter repeats. I definitely always do a lot of strides, 15 to 20 second strides. But most people need more of an aerobic base, and they need to get their mileage up, so we don't worry about intensity so early. I'm coming from a background where I have a lifetime of aerobic base, and I'm coming off of long, slow ultras, and for me it's the turnover and the speed, but also the breathing that are big limiting factors. For most people though, we recommend more zone 2 base initially, then we work on strides and speed simultaneously, and then we merge that together with the threshold and VO2 max workouts and quality long runs, which are always key, which I'll get to. So that's just the basic framework, and I'll show you how I fill that out in my calendar grid plan. And it's good to have a plan, because otherwise if I just think, oh, I'm gonna wing it, or oh, I'm just gonna follow the same 7-day cycle each week, you could get caught up in a bad repetitive pattern. I actually don't like 7-day cycles. I might like more like 10 to 14-day cycles, ideally 10 to 12-day cycles, but I have the luxury of being able to do long runs on a random weekday. A lot of you don't if you have work and family obligations, so I get why the weekend long run is so important for a lot of people, but going every other week for a super long, hard long run makes more sense than going every 7 days, in my opinion, especially if you're doing consistent high mileage, which we'll get to. But a lot of the training's based on this 5-zone training theory, 5-zone pace intensity spectrum chart. I did a short video on this. You could download this PDF under our free plans tab at higherrunning.com. This is a business plug. But it also goes back to not just 5 zones in terms of thinking of intensity, relative heart rate, RPE, rate of perceived exertion, or actually it goes back to the 5 pace theory, which was hugely instrumental in the idea that you're always mixing up paces and intensity, and especially if you're training for a distance race, 5K, half marathon, marathon, ultra marathon even, you've got your race pace, which you might not know on trails, but you'd know if you're training for a road marathon goal, like a 225 for example, we know our marathon goal pace, race pace, but we want to work at intensities that are slightly slower and slightly faster than that race pace. I actually, when I ran my first couple marathons, I barely did any marathon pace work because A, I didn't know exactly what I could run, and B, I figured if I was really fit at slightly faster paces, if you get your threshold pace down, it's going to make marathon pace feel a lot more comfortable. And on the higher end of that spectrum, look at zone 4, zone 5, we're going much faster than marathon pace. We're doing VO2 max work, not for the sake of boosting VO2 max so much, but to get the running economy boost from doing speed work, right? We do speed work to move our legs more efficiently, to have a faster cadence, but to develop more power and push off in our stride. And that mechanical stimulation of the fast twitch muscle fibers helps you feel more comfortable at all slower relative paces. That being said, we need to support that with a lot of base endurance, so that's why the zone 2 training, which for a lot of ultra marathon runners, that could be your 100-mile race pace or 100K race pace on a trail, right? We kind of throw pace out the window when we're training on trails up mountains, but the zone 2 is very important for, efficiency at fat burning, not beating yourself up too much, but still getting great blood flow, great mitochondrial development, and it's gonna help boost your VO2 max also just by building volume. So kind of the idea of working with all 5 of these zones, but in terms of thinking them around pace. So for me, those 200s, depending on how I manipulate the rest, it could be a lot different of a stimulus. I don't want to develop high levels of lactate. I'm not looking for a VO2 max boost. I'm looking for a running economy boost more, but it all kind of intertwines and overlaps. All right, so that's the rough game plan at this stage in the game. Again, let me know if you're gonna be at the Boston Marathon. It'd be really cool to do a meetup, Boston Marathon 2025. This is a plug, sponsor plug, the new Coros Pace Pro watch. Stay tuned for a product feature on that, obviously a sponsor plug. But yeah, really excited to show you the process in this training series. Hopefully get some workouts outside to show you what I go through in training for the Boston Marathon and training for this ambitious goal again. So hopefully you could kind of relate to the struggle, especially training in the cold, windy winter out here at altitude in Colorado. It could get a little rough. Might do some heat training on the treadmill if it's not totally broken, stuff like that. So stay tuned for more episodes in this. Thanks again to title sponsor Hoka, keeping the dream alive, as well as people that support our coaching business for Coach Sandy and I at Higher Running. Again, follow Sandy's channel. I'll link to it below in the description as well as up there. Thanks for subscribing. We hit 250,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. I might do a special video for that, maybe some prize giveaways, stuff like that, because really appreciate the long-term support. Been doing these YouTube videos for 16 years. So awesome, 250,000 subscribers. Let's go for 1 million. Thank you for all the support. Thumbs up, kudos, sharing this on social media. Hope your running's going well, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.